You know what I mean? This is Rod, Rod Uncensored. You know what I mean? The BB Dub lover. You know what I mean? Double R's, Rhino Rod, RP, Rod Pervert. You already know. If that bitch titties can't fit in the bra from Lady Bryant, I don't want to fuck with her. You already know the vibes. Plan B's going for 25 where I'm from. Welcome to your midday Rise Uncensored podcast. I got a special guest, Patrick Bean. How you doing, sir? I'm sorry for the intro. I let people know in the beginning.
You know hey, Rob, you're good. Hey, it's uncensored, so either you can choose to listen or you don't.
Yeah.
Oh well, life goes on.
Life goes on, man. But man, how did you get into podcasting, man?
So for being single for a while, I've just learned a lot about the dating world, and well, you can only tell so much people about like the dates you're on and like advice you're giving, you're getting, and I really just wanted to talk more about like the dates that I go on because, well, just from a good, genuine guy's perspective, because like, hey, the date went well or didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Either it's a mutual decision, like between the girl and I, like, hey, I want to go on a second date or not, and sometimes the girl would say yes, and the next day she'd change her mind, and you'd be like, oh man, like, so there's always times where it just sucks when you just want to talk about dating, and more of the times, sometimes you have friends who just are getting tired of listening. So I'm like, you know what? I just want to make a podcast about it. And for me being single and childless, I've just been going on some pretty crazy adventures, doing stuff that I want to do. And I have fun along the way. And I live life like saying, I don't care about anyone else but myself. I do what makes me happy.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I just love. And I just like exploring different avenues of dating, sex, and relationships. When I'm not in a relationship, I like learning about relationships because obviously I'm not in one.
Mm-hmm.
And along this process, I just hopefully to be a better partner for the next girl I date or my next girlfriend, etc.
So what made you, you know what I mean, snip yourself, getting the surgery done before you had any kids?
Oh, all right. So I think since high school and college, I've been more of like a lone wolf, like where I just like doing stuff on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And don't get me wrong, I do have friends where I do stuff with. Excuse me, where I do stuff with, but I just like doing stuff on my own and I like having my peace and quiet. Sometimes it does get lonely for the lone wolf lifestyle, but you know, everyone has their ups and downs no matter what kind of relationship you have. And I've just, you know, I've known like you can't get peace and quiet with kids.
Nah.
Nope.
Nah, that's not happening.
Nope. So I talked to my family saying, hey guys, I want to get myself snipped. I just never envisioned myself being a father. And my parents are pretty liberal and well, I come from a liberal family. So they're just like, hey, do what makes you happy. Just don't go to jail, really.
Yeah.
So I talked to my family about it and they supported me with my decision. They kind of known for a while that, you know, I just didn't feel like I wanted to be a father in this world. So I talked to my urologist about getting the snip and I had a conversation with him saying like, oh, are you sure you don't want kids? And I'm like, yeah, I'm dead certain because I just like my peace and quiet and I don't want to give that up. I like doing things I like to do. So like for example, I in my single life I like to go out dancing because well it's just me. I love to dance. And pretty much like I just like having no kids to be responsible for. Like, okay, I'm a hockey ref and I'm responsible for kids for at least 90 minutes. Then after that, they're not my responsibility anymore. So I kind of just like having that much responsibility for kids. Like, don't get me wrong, I like kids, but I just don't want to be responsible for them.
So that's probably was like it's probably hard for you in the dating realm. You know, a lot of women love kids. You know what I mean? For a
Yeah.
long term goal. So you're like Batman, pretty much.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You're like your comp is like Batman. Like it's hard. It's a hard sell when it comes to the dating because you know the women want families and you know make children. So I know
Right.
that's probably difficult.
Oh, yes. Like, for the dating apps I'm on, I'm there are three kinds of women that, turn me off to where it's just like, okay, bye. They either say they want kids someday, so they don't have kids now, but someday they will. Yeah, good luck changing your mind for not wanting kids. Not gonna happen. Then you have ones who have kids, and that's just an instant no for me. Then you have the ones who don't display that they have kids on their profile. Then you're just like wowed by it because, well, you didn't know they have kids, but you know, having kids and not having kids are two totally different lifestyles.
Mm-hmm.
So I always like say, just bring it to the attention like first time you're meeting someone, like if you want kids or not, because, well, really, they're both two different lifestyles. So you don't want to waste more time with someone else who wants kids when you don't want kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So,
So how was the procedure after? Like, how long was you sedated for, and how did that procedure go? For people who don't know how the procedure go.
all right. Uh, Oh, I'll just be the first to tell you this. On TV, they make it seem like the vasectomy is like absolutely painful.
Mm-hmm.
Nope, that wasn't the case. Well, I needed someone to drive me home because, well, after the procedure, you're just sedated and you're just obviously not great.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you can't get an Uber because, well, for obvious reasons, they can't. Um, so my family is all spread out throughout the U.S. My closest family member is like all the way out in Albany, New York, which is like 4 hours east of me.
Mm-hmm.
But I had my dad who has had his vasectomy before, and he came up to help me and stuff. But get to answering your question, it wasn't painful actually. Well, they put me in a hospital bed chair. They pumped me with some stuff to get me well knocked out. They put the mask on me to breathe, and boom, I was out. So I think it took less than an hour to get the snip done. And well, I didn't shave my balls because I'm not much. I don't shave my balls that much. And so they had to shave that part and then go in and snip me. Funny as it is, the first time I came up, I wish I could have like felt the smoothest of my balls, but I had to wait a couple days for the pain to go down. Then I could feel my balls, and
So how bad was the pain if you had to
oh,
measure?
the pain was, it didn't even hurt that much. It was just uncomfortable. So if I
The
had to
next day?
say, oh what?
The next day, the pain was just
Oh,
uncomfortable.
it was just uncomfortable. So I would say a solid 5.
Oh, that's not bad.
Oh, not bad at all. Like I didn't want to sit in a place where I had like a hard place to sit because my balls, and I wanted to see my rowing team the next day because I mean, yeah, because we had practice on Sunday mornings. No, yeah, we had the procedure done on Friday morning. Then I had a day to rest, and I wanted to row because I wanted to row in front of my father. But obviously, I couldn't because, well, it was just not worth it for the pain and all. And obviously, I sat in the lounge with my coach and my dad, and obviously, we put a couple life vests under my butt, and it just felt a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
and obviously everything like cushioned my balls. But the pain level wasn't really that bad. It just you didn't want to sit too much in a hard place like um for a long period of time. Then we went to this Bills scrimmage, this Buffalo Bills scrimmage
God,
later in the day.
come on, Patrick. Don't tell me you're a Bill fan, man.
Oh, I am a Bills fan, and if you haven't guessed,
man. Oh man.
I have a Bills flag in my background.
Oh man, this is terrible, man. Because
This is terrible.
I'm a Patriot fan, so you're like, you know what I mean? You're like a Democrat. I'm a Republican.
For my vasectomy, it was just at like a 5, so it wasn't all that bad.
Okay, that's not bad.
For guys who want to get a vasectomy, really talk to your urologist about it, and he or she will likely recommend you to obviously get it when and if you feel like it. I know pretty much soon that, okay, so I have a lot of friends that I went to high school with and college now that are dads. Mm-hmm. And obviously every other week I see a new pregnancy announcement. So it's like soon enough they're going to want to stop having kids. So I think it's pretty good for me to tell my guy friends that are dads that, hey, if you want to get a vasectomy done, not pop any more kids out. It's not that bad of a procedure to do. It was totally free for me, which was really good. And yeah, it didn't cost me a cent at all from my health insurance company.
Oh, that
was pretty good here in New York State. That, yeah, I didn't have to pay anything for the vasectomy. But, I'm glad I did it. And right now I'm currently shooting blanks.
That's a great feeling, man. Because child support is expensive. Child support is.
Hold on a second. Come on. Hold on a second. Come on. Hang on, guys. Technical difficulties.
All right. You're going to take a quick commercial break while you go fix that. Hey, welcome back to Rod's Uncensored Podcast. Make sure you hit that like button. Okay.
Hold on.
All
right. Okay. Hold on. All right. Screw it. All right. I'll just talk to here because it's just better.
All right. So, man, how long have you been a hockey ref for?
So I've been a hockey ref for 21 years.
21 years.
21 years. 21 straight years. Never took a season off.
Wow.
Yeah, that's passion for hockey.
Yeah, that's definitely passion right there. That's a lot of years. 21 years.
Yeah, my original patch can order itself a beer now.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what made you want to be a referee?
So there was this one time, me and my mom and my brother were at a McDonald's after our hockey games, and one of our hockey friends came up to me and encouraged me and my brother to try refereeing. He filled in my mom with all the info for how to get to be a referee. The next year, since the season is already over, we go to a seminar. I do it first because I have a couple more years, and the minimum age to referee is 11. And back when I started, it was 11, but due to child labor laws, it got moved up to like 14, but I started at 11 and then I got grandfathered in because I was already doing it. So I did it for a while, and my brother did a couple seminars with me, and well, he didn't like it as much as I did. Funny as it is, now he's a coach and I'm still hockey refereeing. So obviously it didn't last long for my brother being a hockey referee, but for me, it's been lasting quite a while. And I've had my fair share of friends who tried refereeing and it just fizzled out for them because they didn't like the work environment and stuff. But I loved it because I love to skate and I just love the impact I put on the game just by making good calls and, skating. So it definitely rang a bell for me for something that I love to do. Despite the fact that I'm not gonna ever make it to the NHL, it's all about just having fun and giving
Yeah.
back to the game.
So what is like what's the major calls that really mess up games for hockey about calling a fair game? What's the major calls that mess up games, you think?
Major calls I mess. Let's see. I would say offsides would be a big one because
Offsides.
oh yes, when one team thinks they're on a breakaway,
Mm-hmm.
but they have one player that goes over the blue line first to get into the zone. I have to. That's like my specialty for calling offsides because I know how to skate pretty well and get to the blue line first. And yep, it does mess them up, but I'm watching the line, so there's really no way to argue with me over it. But then also there are times where I do have coaches who always try and question me over call over goals that I call or like that either I call or wave off, but most of the time it's my view versus theirs. Well, essentially, I don't care what the other coaches see because, well, I have the best view, like because I'm right there, and then either allowing the goal or waving it off. And sometimes coaches need an explanation, and I'll give it to them, but depending on how much, either they'll let me talk or won't let me talk. And there are coaches who won't let me talk. I always give them, and I always give them a penalty for that because, well, if you want me to explain a call, let me explain the call. If you're not letting me get a word in, then you're just really wasting my time. So I want to keep the game going because very likely I have another game I have to get going to after the game. So essentially, it's like either offsides or goals is where I get like some controversy, but hey, it's my job. I'm not here to please everyone. I'm here just to do my job and go on to the next game.
Mm-hmm. So in hockey, can a coach get enough tax to get thrown out or?
Yes. So there used to be the rule of 15 penalties a couple of years ago. Then they brought it down to 12 penalties. And I like that more because, well, it's just less penalties I have to deal with. And the coach just being not being a jerk. But of course, it happens when I have a team like getting penalties like every other minute because they're doing stupid shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to make these calls or else a brawl will happen after the game, and brawls aren't fun from previous experience.
So has anybody ever tried to coach wise threaten you for making a bad call?
Never threatened me, but of course they give me some chin music by and they always try and give me an earful and try and tell me like, oh, you're the worst ref ever, stuff like that. It doesn't bother me because there was this one time for this charity hockey event where they go for 24 hours, 7 days a week for 11 straight days. I won't say the name of the charity event, but
Okay.
they can't fill it all with certified refs because, well, certified refs have like other games to do during that time, and you're either paid and you're getting paid to ref for other games, but for this, you're donating your time. For me, like I've learned to donate my time early on in my hockey career, so it's not the end of the world if I'm not getting paid for a charity event. But to the point, people who volunteered and aren't certified to ref couldn't ref at all. Like their positioning was out of whack. Like their judgment was not great. So I always have this mindset saying pretty much that a normal Joe can't referee because they're not trained properly and they're just they don't know how to ref. And I always ask these volunteers, hey, do you always give refs a hard time when you're in the stands? And they always say like yes. And then I tell them, yeah, your mind's gonna change after the first period. Then after the first period of playing, they were so wowed by how much it takes to ref. They're like, yeah, I'm going to show refs some respect next time. They're like, yes, thank you. So obviously, I have the mindset knowing that not many people can do my job. So it just helps me a lot more to like just focus on the game and not worry about distractions.
So being a ref, for 20 plus years, do you still like watching professional hockey or hockey in general, just as a fan?
Oh, yes, yes, definitely. Like, so on Saturday, I had a pretty crazy day where on my rowing team, we had this erg regatta where we like see how we do erging wise, the rowing machine, to put in better terms, for how we did. Then right after, I had to shower and walk to the game and meet my friend downtown because it was his birthday. And we went from the game. Then a couple hours later, then I was refereeing hockey. So my favorite kind of days are where I go from refereeing hockey to watching a Sabres game because, well, the Sabres are here in Buffalo. So it's always fun to watch hockey for me.
Also, you're a Sabre fan.
And the Sabres, but also I'm a New Jersey Devils fan.
Oh, so I put the wrong stuff. I thought you was a Missouri Blues fan.
Oh, I am also a Blues fan too. I
Okay.
have 3 hockey teams I like, so you're good. No worries. I'm a little bit out there for my hobbies, so you're good.
So recently, Colorado Avalanche won. Do you have a feeling they could repeat, or you think it was just a one season thing for them?
I think it was a one season thing.
Mm-hmm.
I believe I have 2 teams that I think I know are going to do probably good in the playoffs. Either the New York Rangers, the arch rival of the Devils, or the Devils, because they both loaded up before the trade deadline. So hopefully they make a good run. But also the Sabres, I would definitely love to see them make a playoff run this year.
Mm-hmm.
I've been living in Buffalo for nearly 10 years. So just when the droughts really started going for both the Bills and the Sabres, I moved. So I understand the whole entire culture of, the playoff drought. So I'm sure the Sabres are due for their playoff run. Well, the Bills currently are on their own playoff, like non-drought, as I like to call it.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully soon I would like to see the Sabres. But to answer your question, I think it was a one season thing for the Avalanche.
Because I thought the Hurricanes, Carolina Hurricanes, it was looking really good in the playoffs, and I guess they also fizzled out. I thought they was gonna contend, but they fizzled out.
Right. I mean, we still got some season left, so who knows what can happen.
So what you think? What happened what happened to the Penguins? Because the late early 2000s, it was on top of the world. Why do you think they fizzled out from contending?
I think it's because, well, other teams got better and they're still doing the same thing. I mean, they do have Malcolm, Crosby, in Latang, but soon enough, other teams can adapt and get better than you. So I think probably within the next couple of years, they're probably going to have to like get traded out or retire as a Penguin. So we'll see what happens in the next couple of years.
What about Alex Alamskins? You think he's just stay there until he retires?
Yeah, I think he's going to stay there and retire as a Penguin.
Okay. But man, so let's talk about some little NFL. Why you feel like what happened to your Bills, man? I thought that was gonna make it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, me too. But I think we were just too excited to play the Chiefs. If we were to play the Chiefs, we totally forgot how good of a team the Bengals are. And I think that caught everyone by surprise. So I was at that game and I was high as a kite because I'm walking distance from the Bills stadium. So, I chose to get high and watch the game. And from what I remember, they were just totally outcoached for that game. Like, from what I remember, yeah, it was for the defense for the Bills couldn't do much because the run game for the Bengals is pretty great. Then for going on offense, I think many times through many drives, the Bills had to punt because the Bengals were just really good on defense. And I always believe in this saying in sports, the deeper you get into the playoffs, the harder it gets. And, if the Bills barely squeaked by the Bengals, it would have been a shit show if they made it to the Chiefs. Even though, like, earlier in the season, the Chiefs were beat by the Bills, but in the playoffs, it's a completely different mind game because, well, win or go home pretty much in the playoffs. So, hey, hopefully next year things get better, but, I'm just happy they made the playoffs. But for me being a casual fan, yeah, I am happy they made the playoffs.
Okay. Yeah. So how did you get into rowing? Like,
oh, okay. That's a good thing to ask.
because I only saw rowing on a movie called How High. You know what I mean? I didn't know nothing about rowing to that movie came out.
Funny as it is, I work with a lot of Black people in my job currently, and they're all cool with me. I'm cool with them. As they like to put me, I'm the nicest white guy they'll ever meet. But so I talk to them about rowing, and most of them are 420 friendly. So very likely they've watched the movie How High, and I told them about my rowing, and I tell them what that sport is. But then I reference like, hey, have you guys seen the movie How High? And it's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, rowing was a subplot in that movie. So yeah, for rowing, it's a good sport for me. But so how I got into it was one time me and my dad were grocery shopping, and a mutual friend of ours approached me, and he's like, wow, you're a big guy. And this is when I was 6'2", so I was a really big dude back in high school. No, middle school. This is when it happened. And the guy's like, dude, you should totally go for your local crew team. There's always college scholarships available. You're going to be on a rowing team with mostly girls and boys. So it's like a really good sport to get into.
I didn't know it was a scholarship sport.
And for men, not so much, but definitely for women.
Okay.
But obviously, a few years later, I didn't get a rowing scholarship, but it didn't matter for me. But I tried the sport out once, and here's what I thought was cool. I wanted a team with women, and I always liked women. So I thought it was a cool way to just interact with women in a non sexual or romantic way. Not that I wasn't horny or anything. Just, I liked hanging out with women because they were just cool. But anyways, I started it in middle school. I liked it because I liked my team. I liked the people I knew. I had a couple old friends who were on the team, and that really got me into really doing the sport. And one of my one of the head coaches I like met later down the line, he encouraged me to get a single because I'm such a big dude. And normally people who are taller normally like to row in singles by themselves. So also this is where I get the lone wolf mentality, where it's like I like to row on my own. Everything I do for races is by myself. I mean, there are times where I row with a team. So like an 8-man boat or a 4-man boat, I row in. But there are also times where I row in a single. But I did it all throughout high school. I loved it. Went to a lot of cool like race courses. Rode somewhat throughout college. Then I got like tired of it because I just got tired of waking up at 5 a.m. for practice. Then I moved to Buffalo. Then I joined a master's team for a bit to row. I gained weight to where I couldn't row, so had to quit temporarily. Then fast forward to
So what is the max weight you can be the row?
um well, there is no general max weight, but for me being a single, my max weight for being a single is like 270. If you're at like 300 pounds, you're not going to really go anywhere. So
Okay.
generally, the max weight for rowing is like 270. For men, I'm not going to get into women because, well, women in weight, you just can't go there.
Yeah.
um, but I'm really trying to work on my diet currently, and I want to try and get down to 230 because then I can be a competitive weight for racing. Because, well, essentially, the lighter you are, the faster you go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are weight classes for rowing, like where it is 200 plus is heavyweight. Then between 200 to 180 is midweight. Then below 180 is lightweight. So there's 3 different weight classes. But I'm also, have you ever seen the movie The Social Network?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah,
Love
there is a
Facebook.
part
Yeah.
also where they have rowing in it.
Yeah. Now I just watched recently Wednesday on Netflix. They had a rowing scene.
Oh, really? Hopefully I'll check that out because I'm all
Yeah.
about rowing.
Yeah, it's the Adams Family remake this about Wednesday. So she did like a rowing scene.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was pretty creative.
Well, let me know the episode and I will try and look for it.
Yeah, you probably could YouTube it. Yeah, I seen you the link, but yeah, man, I never. So what kind of strategy you need for rowing? Is it just full blast, just be using your hands, or is there any kind of other strategy into rowing?
Well, essentially, there is strategy depending on the races you have. Like a race can be anywhere between 500 meters to 5 kilometers.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to break down the metric. And of course in America we don't use metric.
Yeah.
Um so a 2K is a little less than a mile.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I forgot the conversion rate for all of this stuff, but essentially it's meters just like in track and field.
Mm-hmm.
And for any race, you have your start out point where you have to get going once the race gets going to get into that fast pace. Then you want to settle down into a comfortable rate throughout most of the race. So you have your own like tempo to go throughout the race course. And every boat obviously is different. You're essentially racing yourself. So everything you do obviously is on you. And then the last part, we call this the 300 meters left to go in the race. We call that the sprint, where essentially you're emptying out the tank till you hit the finish line. And as I like to put it in rowing, essentially you're doing 10 meters per stroke. So for masters, for a 1K course, you're essentially doing 100 strokes. And then for the sprint race, for 500, that's an all-out sprint. You're basically doing 50 strokes. So
you're all pretty much burnt out after this race, pretty much.
Yeah, you're burned out. Like, well, essentially, yeah, you're racing and you're working out your pretty much most of your body. Like you're working out your triceps, your biceps, your legs, your back. You're getting a full workout every time you go on a rowing machine or race. Yeah.
That sounds like too much.
Yeah.
That sounds like too much right there going on. Legs burnt out, your back burnt out, your arms burnt out.
I mean, just for racing, but for working out through like practice, it's not all that bad. Obviously, you get a good workout after, and you're still standing. But
so pretty much, for the training is a lot of upper body workouts, for the most part.
Yes and no. Like, essentially, yes, there is weightlifting involved that some of the masters do. Sometimes yoga to really stretch. But yeah, essentially, we have drills where we learn about timing because timing's everything when you're in a boat. Like for example, I always think about this one thing by Cheaper by the Dozen too, where these two boats canoeing, one was off, the other was in sync. The boats that are more in sync actually do better than the ones who aren't in sync. So same thing with rowing. You have to be more in sync with each other, then you'll be actually have a better, faster boat.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's your hobbies you're into. So what is the minor league like in New York for hockey? Is that a big thing to watch?
Not a huge thing to watch. Like so from Albany, New York to Buffalo, they're two very different hockey atmospheres. Like for how long I based it on like how like these big cities for hockey are player and teams that come to for tournaments and stuff and games. We're 5 minutes from Canada, so a lot of teams from Canada come over, and hockey is their national sport in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the times, the Canadians play differently than the Americans. Like I can give you a good example. So American versus American team, attacking player touches the goalie, a scrum breaks out. Then a Canadian versus Canadian team, after the whistle for freezing the puck, the Canadian teams don't do anything. They just leave it be. So it's like, yeah, you can tell the difference between American teams and Canadian teams, but essentially Canadian teams are better and more competitive. And being in Albany, New York, which is about 2 hours south of the border, no, excuse me, yeah, 2 hours south of Canada. It's a bit different, like for talent wise, but in Buffalo, it's a lot more talent and a lot more craziness for hockey here. But I love it because I make a good amount of money, and yeah, I definitely do enjoy the time here in Buffalo versus back in Albany. I mean, if funny as it is, I can ref one game in Albany and I have no complaints because I just stick to my game and do my thing. But of course, here for a 7 and under game, I do my thing and I have coaches harassing me over silly things like offsides and icings. And I'm like, guys, it's a 7 and under game. These kids are just playing organized hockey for the first time. Like,
And so is that competitive?
yes, it is pretty competitive here in Buffalo, but for me being a veteran, I can handle it. There are times where we have like new refs come in, ranging from like 14 to just adults trying it out for the first time. And for me being a veteran, I always work with them. There are times where I see refs that are lazy and I try and get down on their level to, like step it up more. I'm not trying to be like one of those veterans who are like pushy to, be annoying. I want the ref to get better, so very less likely they'll get yelled at because I'll put it this way. Say you're at a McDonald's and you see a like worker on their phone the whole time, hands in their pockets. You definitely want to see a manager about that. But if you see a McDonald's worker actually working, doing orders, that's something you definitely want to see.
Yeah.
Versus a McDonald's worker doing absolutely nothing. So yeah, I use that concept for the newbies, like saying, hey guys, just pull your weight. You make us look better. If you're being lazy, you make us look lazy. So
So I have another question before we get out of here. Why have we not seen the y'all Michael Jordan of hockey? Somebody so efficient scoring like that ever since Wayne Gretzky. Why do you feel like we haven't seen somebody like him?
well, we have right now we have Connor McDavid who's really lighting up the lamp for goals and also
Mhm.
and so I think it'll either be Ovechkin or Crosby who are going to be like the goats for the NHL. I mean, we do have Wayne Gretzky, and obviously his time has passed, and hockey's obviously getting younger, faster, sleeker. So I think the next Michael Jordan will probably be either be McDavid or Ovechkin. And well, actually Ovechkin because he's going to be retiring probably within. But I think it's going to be one of those guys who are going to be like the actual goats.
Okay. You know what I mean? I always wondered that because you know what I mean, they paint him like Jesus on skates. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I appreciate you coming on, man. Let the people know your social media and where they can get your podcast.
Oh, so now let me screenshot what I'm doing. So I'm on Instagram and Twitter, at PBHockey04. So it's like my initials, Pat Valentine, then hockey because well, I'm all about hockey, and 04 because that's just been my favorite hockey number forever.
Okay.
For the legendary Scott Stevens, I was a defenseman and his number was 4, so I had to make a 04. But and also I do a podcast about dating, as you know, and it's called Listen to Your Heart. Just look on Spotify or Apple Music for Listen to Your Heart, and I do episodes about once every other week, depending on how I feel. But I like doing movie reviews and talking about dating, sex, and relationships.
Okay, man. I appreciate you coming on, Pat. You know what I mean, taking the time out of your busy week, you know what I mean, because I know everybody's busy, you know what I mean, especially with your hockey and working your 9 to 5. So I appreciate you coming on. I hope the viewers enjoyed it. And thanks again, man. Have a good rest of your day.
Hey, thanks. Thanks for having me on my show. And thanks for me being on your show. Hope to hear from you again.
I hope so too, man.
All right. Okay. Bye, guys.